I loved Marty. Me and Marty came, from the first day I met him. Yeah, yeah. I came to love Marty. Marty would laugh at me, in meetings because I think he saw my game, and he didn't interrupt it. Me and Marty became good friends because it was because he knew I was right, you know,
Oh,
and he knew that his staff. I mean, there were so many mistakes in the beginning. First of all, they wouldn't service her because of 94-142. That we were home in May, and you go to June 10th. There were so many weeks that she could have gotten educated in the school, but they were telling me 94-142. Then when I got him into the IEP, the first IEP, nobody knew, and they were referring me to district. Oh, we don't know. We got to talk to district. Oh, we don't know. We got to talk to district. And I said, and this, and this, and this. I don't know. And so I said, you know what? I want a hearing. I heard you can do that. So the next morning I was in Marty's office and I said, hey, Marty, I'm Angela Zangerle and I would like to have a hearing because nobody can service my child. And that's when more boo-boos began to be played out. Marty said, please, please give me a week. So we had a week and I had 10,000 people coming in and out, therapists and speech therapy and you name it. Then he sends me to a school away from Miley, further into Waianae to Lehoku, and the principal is supposed to have been informed, and I had this meeting with her, and we talked for over an hour, and then Odie needs to go use the bathroom, and Nani pushes her in. Mom, she has to go to the bathroom. And go, oh, no, you have a wheelchair. No, we can't have you at this school. Well, she's not supposed to tell me that. She should have said, well, I think we need to talk to Marty. She can't just tell me, the parent. So then he has to convince me to go to Kamaili, which is further away from my house, because they're the only ones who have elevators, So in the beginning, him and I had such a rough start, I'm going, what is this? I spent an hour, I take off of work, and you can't even accept her because she's in a wheelchair? Come on, Marty. He goes, wait, let me go see what's going on. He saw how hard a start I had, and they really had to convince me that inclusion was a good thing because I wanted her to have that individual care. She was pretty fragile at the time that she went into, she was still drooling and stuff. So, our teachers are a lot of them in the Waianae area. It's hard to get teachers, local teachers. So what they do is they ship them in from the mainland. I said, why not educate the EAs? The EAs are already in the system. Get them trained because they know the students. My sister was a product of that fight because she became a school teacher. She was an EA and she became a school teacher through a program that I fought for. They're going back to hiring teachers from the mainland, which is so stupid because they want to come to Hawaii. They have no idea what they're getting into. Nobody gives them the background before they go walk into the class. And so it's a lose-lose situation. It's a very lose-lose because you have to know a little bit about the culture before you step into the classroom. Because if you don't, you set up such a, where's your slippers? Your slippers, you're supposed to be wearing shoes, And why haven't you brought in your books? Well, because we can't even afford food. Books are the last thing on my parents' must-do list. And a little bit of pigeon would help, Because the kid's saying I'm Pow, and you don't know what he's saying, you know? We couldn't afford to just go to therapy for therapy's sake. And if Kaiser was correct, I would just let it alone. But could you just evaluate her and give me your opinion? And he said he didn't have the experience, but he was willing to give it a try. And he stumbled onto the POGs. Now, there's another side to it. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it became a community project, because people would continue bringing in from the community POGs, and then she wanted to ride the bike, and so he wanted her to be on a balance beam, but there was no balance beam in his therapy office. And so the maintenance guys came in and said, so I can build that for you, Herb. What do you need? And so he gave them the measurements and stuff. And so the maintenance guys built Odie the beam to walk on so she could get on a bike. So it became, everybody was excited about Odie in the community. So yeah, it became a community. And Herb was so insistent on what she had to do. And she did it all to earn the POGs. And he was flexible, where others, I don't know if they are or were at the time, but Odie wanted to jump for HART. You know, that program that they take into schools? And she couldn't jump at school because it would have been too dangerous. So he took it on. We brought her in to his office, and she jumped for HART in a safe environment, and then we took the paper back to the school, and they accepted it. So, yeah, you know, some therapists would have been, hey, you got your hour. This is what we're doing. After that hour, you're out of here, you know? But Herb made exceptions for Odie, many exceptions. Yeah. And then if she wanted to get on the bike, because they have that standstill bike, if you want to get on the bike, then you have to do the table. You have to do this, and you have to do that. And you get 3 POGs for this and 3 POGs. And after he got the hard stuff out of the way, he gave her what she wanted. You know, I love track. I love the girls that I was with. I turned most of them into Catholics now. But no matter where we went, can we stop for communion before we go? So, we did that, and they were a good team. Miss Lee was, you know, Holly from Oregon, and trying to learn the ways. And I guess the best ways is to get with teenagers, you know. So she would take us on outings that our parents probably would not have allowed, you know. Pray for 6. Let's go to Praying for 6. She was young, so, you know, why not? Take the kids out there. She knows nothing about the beaches. And that undertow there is so bad, you know. I want to help other parents see that, you know, they have to listen to their gut. If they think their kids can be better than what they are, they need to do that, no matter what the medical field is saying. A parent knows their child best. And I saw in Odie that she had the capability of getting better. It wasn't, this is as good as it's going to get. So I pushed the system, and sometimes it's good to push the system. I think everyone who interacted with Odie and with me have become better teachers for it. It was all built around my father's cooking capabilities, and he did a lot of luau's, and it taught me how everybody joined together to make it happen. It's not just one person. And the luau, the process of the luau is an important process. You know, it is a process. It's just not identified correctly in the normal English-speaking world. You know, a luau is a party, but there's so much that goes into the party. So much that goes into the party. It's not just, it just happens. You know, you have to know people. You have to work with them all year, and they call it a barbecue. You know, and you just change that barbecue to a meeting. It's what it is. You know, somebody's writing down who's going to do what. So that's minutes of the meeting. You know, it's just not called that. But because I work where I work, I kind of figured it all out. I'm going like, hey, this is unique. And I did it almost every weekend of my life when I was growing up, because my dad was involved in luau's. So I helped prepare just like he did. And then we went into the lay business, and it was, again, team effort, you know. So normal luau's were 500, 600. That was normal. But the biggest one I remember was 1,000. And with that type of feeding, and it all comes together, Jim. It all comes together because everybody knows what the end product needs to be. You go into a home in Hawaii, and my mother would just punish us if we said, yes, please. Yes, please was not in the books, not to say. But you don't worry about it in Hawaii, because even if you say no thank you, they're going to give all the food and the drink right in front of you, even if you say no thank you. Now, you come to the mainland and you say no thank you, you're going to be thirsty. And you're going to be hungry. You're going to wish you took that sandwich. And a definite break in culture. The culture is different. In Hawaii, there is a very big unspoken, because we're taught to be humble. So you wouldn't go into an interview and say, oh, I'm Angela Zangerle, and I have been this, you know, you don't, and whereas I've seen in interviews, and this howdy guy comes in, he goes, oh, I can do this, and I can do that, and I will do this, and I will do that, and I'm going like, wait a minute, I work with you, you don't do any of that, you know? And then the timid, and I have to remind the panel that I'm with, that understand you're interviewing a Japanese girl. She is not going to tell you any of that. We're not allowed to do that. But look at her record. Look at her record, and look at all the awards that she's been given. You know, kind of like, hello, we have different cultures. I took my culture into the meeting. Number one, I'm from Waianae. So I dressed like I was from Waianae, Bora Bora t-shirt and shorts. I dressed like I was from Waianae. I played the role that they expected. And that way I gave them the power over me. So they thought. And then I went into the submissive role of saying, I must be reading this regulation wrong, because according to 94-142, paragraph whatever it was, it says she can get the services. Am I reading that wrong? It's better to give them the power to tell me, yes, you are. Oh, I didn't see that part. So you give them the upper hand. That's the way I played it. I didn't go in there and say, what the heck? Haven't you read the regulation? Because that just causes conflict, you know? And I wanted this to be a positive thing for my daughter, not a negative. And if you irritate the whole conference, what good is that going to do for Odie? So better to be the submissive role, better to give them the power. I had the power all the time, Jim, and I knew it. And I knew I was right. But that does not go over well when you're sitting with a bunch of people in an IEP meeting. Well, I did kind of play because I said, I don't know what this meeting is for. And the principal sat up and said, hey, you called it. I said, But Marty Madison from the district was there. And I said, Marty, did you guys change the rules? You know, if a team decides something, isn't it carried out? Why are we here? Because the team convinced me that she should ride the bus. What happened to that IEP? I don't know. So I played it. But the one thing I did stand up for was when the VP said, I'll go get your girls. And I said, no, you're not going to interrupt their education. She's going to wait and give them on priority. You know, and you get so involved in it when you're walking in and you're walking in late and your friends are saying, whoa, she could whip your ass. Oh, sorry. But she's gonna whip you. She said it out here, you know? And I'm going like, how foolish. I was born and raised here. Everybody here is my Calabash cousins and, you know. And I guess we had finished cleaning the church. That's what we came on a Saturday to clean the church. That was what we were supposed to do. And then he found us outside just talking and playing and goofing off. And he said, hey, if you're done with the church, you come in here and you clean my house. And we were like, what? So we went in and we cleaned the house. And he said, don't forget to make the bed. And we went in. I was like, wow, he actually sleeps in a bed. I don't know what I was thinking. You know, I thought he arose to heaven every night. I don't know. But it really impressed me that he's got a bed. The priest actually got a bed. Whenever he saw us goofing off again, we had to clean the house. Dust everything. And wow, they sit on chairs. They watch TV, you know. Yeah. They got the same kind of furniture we have. And it's a twin-size bed. What did I expect? I don't know. But it wasn't a bed. I just had a real love for the Eucharist. I love the candles that you lit, you know, and it signified, like in the old days, they burned incense, that your prayers rose up to Jesus. So yeah, I liked lighting the candles in the old church. And it's a different, the modern day and the old day. When you go into a church with real candles, to me, it made a difference. I loved going to church. I loved every part of it. I loved the teachings.
And you told
the old church, you could actually walk up and be on a choir level and look down, you know, on the whole altar. That was like fascinating for me, just fascinating. I don't know why. I just had this big love for the mass, the service that we attend. Yeah, you know, in the old days, it was a great respect for the church. I love to pray. I love to pray. I love prayer and worship and meditation, and I still do it. I still do it. I try to get up real early in the morning because that's when, you know, I'm wide awake before everybody gets up, and I say my prayers and the day is solid, you know, on solid ground. I believe that. For all those mothers who are feeling the anguish that I have had to go through, there's many mothers out there that are the same if not worse. So I pray for them. So those are all intercessory prayers. Yeah, I do a lot of those. And then when I'm in church, it's prayer and adoration. Yeah. A Saturday morning, my mother would pound bread, so we had to learn how to pound bread. And really, it's an art, and it's not easy. She would do a lot of bread. She had to give every single person, you know, couldn't just do it for us. So she would pound and pound and pound. Then once it's pounded, she put it in. It's in a bowl, and she would grease the bowl, and she would grease the top of that, and she'd put all of these dish towels. First she'd put wax paper, then dish towel, and then this big blanket, and she'd put it on a counter, and that began the bread. Because you couldn't walk, you couldn't run. I think yelling even was not allowed because the bread was rising. So no activity, the bread is rising. So you run in the front door and man, you're right there, you're caught. No, the bread's rising. So once the bread after hours, it seemed, the bread would rise. Then you'd make the sign of the cross. You always have to bless your bread. And then you'd punch it down. And then you'd make your little, how do you call it? You get your little piece of dough, and she'd put a raw egg in the piece of dough. And then she'd put it all in a bread pan. So you'd have all these little buns like dinner rolls. But it hasn't ended there because it had to rise again. So there was still no playing, no horsing around, because now the breads were in the pan and they were rising. So you're coming into early evening having this rise, and then about 9 o'clock she would start baking her bread with the eggs in it. The eggs are not boiled, it's raw eggs. You may have to make sure they were really clean because we're getting it from the farm. So you have to wash each egg and make sure there's no cracks in it. And then you just put the egg, raw egg, with the dough over it. And when it baked, it came out boiled. Sort of. It was baked, it was cooked. So you had your egg and you had your bread. At midnight, we were at Mass. So we all marched into Mass. And when we came back from Mass, we could eat bread, hot, rolls straight from the oven with the egg in it. You get up the next morning, you still got the Portuguese bread with the eggs in it. It was like, that was Easter. And the Easter, and you ate that pork that they had pickled on Thursday. My father would roast it in the oven and turn it over and turn it over. So you had your meat and you had your bread. That was the Portuguese portion of our upbringing. My dad ate it with rice because he had to have rice, and my mother couldn't see it. I don't know why you're eating it with rice. You have the bread, you know, but two different cultures. My dad did the vineyard oils for her, and she did the bread. And we were so fortunate, looking back, that we had two different cultures right in our own home. We always had a fresh tree, except for one year when we were really, really poor. We had a Calvi branch. But I would love to lie under the tree and just look up at all the lights, And we would just sleep under the tree, you know. Sometimes, not often, I was a good girl, but sometimes those little packages just came unopened enough to say, "Whoa, I'm getting Monopoly." To me, it was perfect. I teach my grandchildren, lie down under the tree, look at it. It's so pretty, and they do. For me, that was a little heaven on earth, just to look up and see all the lights. And remember those lights that had all the bubbles? They were skinny, and they had all the bubbles going up and down. Those are fun to look at, Well, my mother actually gave me 2 dolls that she paid a pretty penny for. She knew I liked church, and I was always interested in nuns. So she gave me this nun doll. I guess they had to really save up for it. And I was like, oh, I got this nun doll. I have to see if she has hair. Does she wear So I ripped it apart to find out that she was bald. They didn't have hair. My mother was so upset. Then I had another doll she bought for me. It was a wedding doll. And I think she bought that with stamps. Do you remember stamps when you go to the grocery store? And I think she bought it that way. And she had to use quite a few stamps. And she also bought a hair cutting tool, those razors, because my brothers had to have haircuts and they couldn't afford to go. And I wanted to play with that so much. So I got this wedding doll, took off her veil, and just shaved her head and hid her underneath the bed. Oh my God. My father killed pig maybe 2-3 times a month. And I was there to help him, and everybody knew that I was the one who catched the blood. So we'd go in the house and we'd get a pot, and then we get a banana. You strip a banana leaf and you got a stalk. So you get that stalk and you stir the vinegar and salt. You stir it and stir it and stir it until that vinegar and salt becomes one. And then they clean off the neck portion of the pig, and they stab it to kill the pig. Well, when you stab it, if you stab it in the right place, this blood will shoot out. And so what you have to do is stir and stir and stir, and you can't stop stirring, because if you do, then the blood will chunk up, and you didn't want that. So if you continue stirring, so after the pig was completely bled, I'm still stirring the blood until it's really gotten to the vinegar and the blood become one. That's all I can describe it. And then it could sit and wait until you got all the guts out, clean the guts, and you'd make a meal out of that, the intestines and the blood. They call it dinuguan in Filipino, and it's a whole meal. It looks like chili. I used to tell the Holly boys that used to come on the Marines, oh, that's the Hawaiian chili. Every weekend, like start from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there was a big to-do at our house, because they started making their lures. They have to make their lures. They have to check lines. So they were always at our house And we brought in a lot of fish every weekend. So they'd go out fishing. If it was Opello season, then he'd go by himself sometimes. And he'd swear that there was somebody fishing with him because he didn't catch all the fish. And there was like loads of fish. So when he came home, it was our job to undo the boat, take all the fish and wash down the boat. You have to wash everything because it was salt water and it would just eat up. So all the poles had to be flooded with water. All the boat has to be flooded with water. And then his friends just stayed and, you know, we'd cook up food, make rice. My mother fried the fish, and she had learned to fry the fish so well. Everybody thought her fish was the best. She did the fish. My father cleaned the fish, I cleaned the fish, but she wouldn't clean fish, but she would cook all the fish. She was the best cooker of fish. She came and she spoiled me. I guess that's why I thought she was the best, you know. She did her job as a grandma. At night, she'd tell us ghost stories. Oh my gosh, those were so spooky for a little kid. And somebody ate out your heart, and you'd be screaming, you know, and then she'd go, "Is that my heart you have?" You know, and you'd be like, "Oh." and she played the role. I mean, dim the lights, you know. Grandma's gonna tell you a spooky story, and you'd love it and you'd hate it all at the same time because you were so scared. And then during the day, she used to always walk with me up to Dang's store, and the little money she had, she would spend on me, and I could buy cracked seed and candy and anything I want. And I love when we played cards because we were on the mat and she would hug me real close and stick those cards under my leg. And I was like, at first, like, whoa, what is this? And then when she needed it, she took it back and she played it and she won. I said, my grandma just cheated. She won, but she just cheated, you know? So, yeah, she was the best. And then I just remember so vividly when my father tried to manage her diet because she had a sweet tooth and she was a diabetic, and we were out there in the bushes and she threw candy away. She threw it. She flinged it because he was going to catch us eating candy, you know. And I thought that was the neatest thing. Like, yeah, she got one over on you, Daddy. It was always the Ubaki stories. Yep, you got my liver. Who's got my liver? They thought it was a race, but in my mind, and even till today, I believe it's not race. It's culture, because in the mainland, it's when you're given something. If your mother gives you a book, a pencil, a paper, that's yours. That is you own that. In Hawaii, if I had paper and my friend didn't have paper, it was my job to give them paper or give them pencil. So that's how we were basically raised. Yeah, I give you, you give me. None of us had parents who were really rich. So we depended on each other for school supplies. Hey, I don't want paper today, you know. Well, you've got these military mainland students, and they come into our school, and they've got every supply that they need. They've got the pencils, they got the pens, they've got, you know, a whole ream of folder paper, and you say, hey, can I borrow a pencil and pen? And they were like, no, that's mine. You should bring your own, you know? What you mean, brah? You know, can lend me one pencil? You know what I mean? It's like, that's how the argument starts. Wow, you know that Holly guy, he can't even, he get plenty of paper and he don't like even loan me paper. Why? I didn't understand. I was crying once, and Father said, "You're just going through social shock," and I was like, I don't understand that. I really got my daughter Kanani involved in hula. As much as we told her we loved her, I could see her falling deeper and deeper into it was like a depression, because all our focus was on Odie. No matter where we went, it was always Odie. And Odie needed the attention. It's not like we were just giving her the attention for attention's sake. I mean, we'd go outside and she'd try to get to sit on a picnic table, and she's so wobbly, we have to go, Odie, and catch her. You know, it was things that are really crucial to her getting well. We'd pay lots of attention. I wouldn't just say go crush the can. I'd say crush the can with your left hand. No, no, no. And so, you know, it's always Odie. And so Nani was feeling left out, just completely left out. And so that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to give up all my Thursdays. You stay home with Odie. I told Top, you stay home with Odie, and Thursdays will be my day with Nani. And so we went to dinner, and I put her in hula. And I think hula helped her to blossom, just come out of her shell, you know? And I really was serious about this being me and Nani. So I sat there. I did not just drop her off. A lot of parents just drop the kids off and go run an errand. But I made an effort to just sit there and watch Nani. And then I'd praise her. Wow, that was cool. Man, that was good. So it was my effort to build her self-esteem and show her how much she means to me too. And then, you know, when we'd go home, I'd say, show top what you did, you know, you learned a step. And then as she learned songs, oh, play that song, you know. And that was my time with Nani, and it brought her out of the shell. My brother's children were taking Taekwondo. And the Taekwondo, the sensei was a registered nurse who was part of the trauma team at Waianae Comp. So I knew B, and B knew of our situation with Odie. And so we put Odie in Taekwondo, and that worked really good because it was therapy without being therapy. And she wanted to do it. That's the best thing, is Odie wanted to do it. But Odie did not understand that this was Taekwondo you practiced and you didn't hit anybody. So she'd come home, and if somebody frustrated her, man, she went into her kick. And I said, oops, that's it. So it had been like maybe a year and a half that me and Nani was already in hula. And I said, hey, let's go do the hula with Nani. And so again, my main focus is not actually Odie learning the hula, but Odie getting PT out of it, you know, physical therapy. And Nani didn't mind it because she had already established herself within the group. So they learned their culture. This teacher was really good. They learned to make their own hakus. learn to make their own dancing instruments, so they learned a whole lot from hula. Hula wasn't just hula. And for every dance that they danced, they needed to know the story behind the dance. And I love that. I just love that about it. So even if it was a whole Hawaiian chant or song that they were dancing to, she would tell them the full meaning of what they were dancing. And I think both girls really benefited from that. I think that's one of the reasons Odie in high school took Hawaiiana. So she wanted to speak Hawaiian, not just and you know she created a page. I'm not sure if you helped her. Somebody helped her create a web page, and it was all in Hawaiian. And I said, "What does it say, Odie?" She said, "Learn to speak Hawaiian, then you'll know." So I never found out. Nani still dances the hula for us, and every time she dances, Top cries, and I cry. You know, because it's not just a little girl dancing the hula. It brought her out of the shell, you know. Well, Tutu is grandmother in Hawaiian, and it's actually Tutu Wahine and Tutu Kani. So you have the male and female. But my mother said, "No, I'm Tutu Lady," and so I just kept the Tutu Lady. Yeah. Yeah, so and all the kids call me Tutu. Um, no matter where they're at, they call me Tutu. Yeah, I'm Tutu Lady.